It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Feels like one of those days. You try to change shit and it stays the same. What's up, everyone? I'm not kidding. It's one of those days, my friends. Right now, as we start live, we have TNA lockdown going on. I have match results up to now. I'll give in a few moments my honest opinions of where some of these storylines are going. They are right now in the midst of Cedric Alexander versus Leon Slater. And in case you didn't know, the stipulation is one of the dumbest stipulations. This is worse than Dixie Carter days. That if Leon Slater loses, his history as X Division champion is erased. And because of that, it causes like a chain of events. Amazing Red is acknowledged as the youngest of all time. Austin Aries, I think, is the longest of all time. All this stuff. And to me, it's like somebody watched Back to the Future, probably last week, smoking a little bit of babanya. Like, dude, just like Michael J. Fox's family, dude. What if we erase his legacy? Look, all this changes. Oh, man. God. I mean, I think we all agree Leon Slater should get this victory, but boy, that is one of the dumbest. I could see, if this was like a storyline with the Authority and Triple H, just really fucking with somebody back in the day, like, we're going to erase your history. To me, this is worse than when they took away Booker T's name in WCW and called him G.I. Bro. Anybody remember that? Yeah, I'm that old. I'm that old. Anyway, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday night. What's today's date? August 25th. Wait. No. August 23rd. I got nervous for a minute because my mom's birthday is the 28th, and we're all taking her out to eat. And I'm like, wait, that's Friday. So, yeah, I almost got the dates wrong. How's everybody doing? We are here, as we always do on a Sunday night. This is what we call a lazy show. For everybody who is live, you get the opportunity, if you want, to ask me a question. I'll answer it as best as I can. If you have a comment, you want me to share it, I absolutely will. Nothing pretty much is out of bounds as long as you show a little bit of respect. And obviously, if anybody super shouts us, they go to the front of the line. It's the fair thing to do, helping us pay the bills. But I thank you, as always, for your support. Much love to all of you out there. Obviously, it's a big story, but is it a big story? If we're being honest. I mean, this is about what's going on with Ilja Dragunov leaving WWE. We'll get back to that in a little bit. I'm actually not going to go very hard on Lil Yachty with this, but obviously people are turning around like, oh, you let Ilja go, but you give this guy a match. I'll give you my honest take on that in a little bit. Plus, we're also going to discuss an interesting topic that was asked of me during Thursday's Patreon show. And I think this is a fabulous question. And I normally don't do Mount Rushmores because it's so difficult. When you really think about it, like me, since I'm an older guy, if you actually in a Mount Rushmore of wrestling, I'm going to include people that probably a lot of you never seen wrestle before. I think it's to each his own. I think it's your preference. But somebody asked me, what is my Mount Rushmore of people who are not in the WWE Hall of Fame? Now, we're not talking about people that are Hall of Famers that were from other promotions that WWE should put in, because obviously there's a great list out there. But as far as people who were in WWE, involved with WWE, really made their name in the WWE, it was there long enough that warrants a Hall of Fame induction. And it was a much harder list to come up with as far as the fourth spot. So I'm going to share with everybody in a little bit my choices of who I pick for the Mount Rushmore of those WWE stars, personnel, whatever you want to use, that are not in the WWE Hall of Fame. If you're live in the chat, post your four. If you want to use an overall stamp based on, history of wrestling in the WWE, by all means do that. If you're in the comments section after we're live, post it there. I'd love to see some of your answers. And I think your answers will give everybody an idea, not only how old you are, but maybe how long you've been watching wrestling. But my choices, I think you'll have a few similar ones, but my fourth choice is going to be pretty fascinating. And honestly, after I thought about it for a while, I said, nah, I'm sticking with my fourth choice. So before we get into this, I want to pour a little toast. Today is the 3-year anniversary that we lost Terry Funk, my favorite wrestler of all time. And I'm not just saying that. If anybody goes back with me in my hotline days in 1997, what was my nickname? Anthony the Funker. Even people I became friendly with in indie wrestling, they would say to me, hey, Funker, come here. Funker, what are you doing? Hey, Funker. Terry Funk has always been my favorite. And 3 years ago today, he passed away. Now listen, I've said this countless times, whether it's wrestlers, family, friends, people that we admired. At some point, we're all going to go. At some point, I'm going to go, you're going to go, everybody's going to go. You're never truly prepared to say goodbye. Whether you know the person personally or you just admired the person, you never want to see that person leave. But Terry Funk had an amazing career, an amazing life. It still brought me to tears. And if Terry Funk died 3 years ago today, rest in peace, Terry. There you are. Well, what's the anniversary for tomorrow? In 24 hours, my favorite wrestler of all time and my favorite wrestler over the last 20 years died. Tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of Bray Wyatt passing away. And to me, I know this upset some people early on. A lot of you now understand it. I truly believe there's a substantial chance he'd be alive today if he would have wore that fucking vest. If he would have wore that vest, and just awful to hear that. And everybody misses him dearly. 3 years already. It's crazy. It's already been 3 years. So I want to toast them and I want to toast all of you. Now we got a brand new bottle of Black Zambuca. As you can see, the seal hasn't been broken yet. Do we pour some Black Zambuca for tonight? Or do we have some good old Italian limoncello? So, I haven't had limoncello in about 10 years. So I bought a bottle because next week is my wedding anniversary with my wife, 4 years, September 3rd. So I figured I'd get a drunk. She loves limoncello, even though we haven't had it in a decade. I figured I'd get a drunk. I'm going to hook an IV on her and I'm just going to pour it right down the IV. So what do we open tonight? And please don't say both, even though I kind of came prepared for both. But which one do we pour first? Do we have some Black Zambuca or do we have some limoncello? Black Zambuca is a little bit stronger. Doesn't affect the shows, even though Monday I dropped a whole bunch of it on my lap. And I want to go rapido. So let's see. Just we got a couple of answers for both. All right, so you know what? Fuck it. Black Zambuca it is. Black like my women. No, actually, that's not politically correct in 2026. It's black like my lungs. Black like my lungs. That's the politically correct version. Salute, everybody. Salute. Good. Maybe by the end of the show, we will take a shot of limoncello. All right. Lots gone down in 7 days since we've been here. Tomorrow, just a reminder, Raw starts at 6 p.m. Eastern instead of 8 p.m. Eastern. They are taping an episode of SmackDown tomorrow. That's why it's starting 2 hours earlier, even though they're in Canada. Now, if you didn't tune into Wednesday Night Dynamite, the next 2 weeks of WWE programming is going to be kind of bizarre. because this coming Friday, WWE's in Columbus. I believe it's it's in Columbus, Ohio. I believe it is. Wherever they are, Friday they're going to be live, August 28th. So now you think, okay, they're going to be live. That means Friday night SmackDown, we'll see it live, like everybody else. Tomorrow, Monday, they are taping Friday's SmackDown. The people who are there Friday night are going to be watching the episode being taped for next Friday. So they're going to see things go down on TV that they didn't even see on TV yet. Now, obviously, what that means is we're going to be spoiled quite a bit over the next 2 weeks. And I don't mean spoiled like a fat child with a lot of cookies. Oh, he's so spoiled. I mean spoiled like we're going to know the results for Friday SmackDown tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to know Raw's results for Monday. And then, remember, next week is the lead-in, the go-home week for Sunday night's main event. So it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks to cover WWE. All right. Yes. If you enjoy the show, smash the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe. You know what? I really would like to get to 50,000 subscribers. And I don't want to do what a lot of other podcasters do, and that's buy numbers. I mean, I make no bones about it. 85% of everyone who enjoys my shows download audio only. Majority of people who follow what I do, they listen to it. They don't need to see my ugly face. They don't need to see me drinking. They don't need to see me post a random thumbnail here and there. Even though I kind of think, maybe Tiffany Stratton's thumbnail, maybe that would get some attention, right? Maybe that would get someone's attention. I don't know what the fuck it is with the duck lips. It's funny because I've always said this about Tiffany Stratton. Very attractive woman, smart woman, great personality, great figure, great talent. But there was just always something about her lips I just had issues with. And now it's just like, forget it. It's like duck lips. And she's now gone pink. And you know what's kind of fucking funny? Do you remember last week somebody super shouted me and said about Blake Monroe? Because 2 weeks ago I said I think she's going to have her in-ring debut in a week or two. Now, we know what happened on Friday SmackDown. I don't think this is an Emma situation. I don't think it's, anything like that. But one thing I did say about Tiffany Stratton, because some of you were saying she's stuck in the mud. Somebody even last week said, did WWE bring her up too soon? And I said, it's interesting with Blake Monroe now, with that same blonde look. It kind of felt like you were going to have to tweak Tiffany Stratton's look. If people don't believe me, I'll fucking play the clip tomorrow. And lo and behold, she dyes her hair pink. I'll be honest with you, I like it. But to me, she don't look like Tiffany Stratton no more. She looks like she wants to cosplay some hip hop artist. I don't know who actually I'm thinking of because I don't follow hip hop much today. But that's what she kind of feels like she's looking towards. But look, you got to create a little bit of a unique look about yourself. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of dig the blonde hair. Not bad. Yes. Zelina Vega kind of had it too, but Zelina Vega's not there anymore. And if you're going to call out Tiffany Stratton for Zelina Vega, then I hope you also called out Zelina Vega and Aleister Black for cosplaying Cross and Scarlet. I mean, touche, pussycat. So, yeah, Cardi B, kind of like Cardi T. Oh, that went down the wrong pipe. Ooh, I'm not acting here. That went down the wrong pipe. I'm so sorry. I'm going to try not to drink halfway through conversation. My apologies. All right, so let me just give everybody quickly, just the match results so far for TNA Lockdown. And by the way, Leon Slater did win. I think absolutely. I mean, that would have been the dumbest storyline or stipulation in the last 20 years. Not even close. Leon Slater just defeated Cedric Alexander to become the X Division champion. Mustafa Ali, as we predicted, won the International Championship back, defeating Jason Hotch. Frankie Kazarian defeated Moose by escaping the cage. I kind of disagree with that outcome. Xia Brookside retains the Knockouts title, defeating Elaine Black. I absolutely disagree on that one. AJ Francis beat Elijah. We kind of think AJ Francis is going to be escalated to the next level. I kind of feel it. And listen, we used to criticize the shit out of AJ Francis, but I got to give him his flowers, as a lot of people say. Guy has worked hard, man. That is one guy I honestly thought was going to leave wrestling. I mean, you go back in the day when we talked about the Highlanders. I'm Robbie. I'm Rory. The Highlanders. A lot of people, we would say, bye-bye. Look at fucking Rick Boogs. We were like, go guitar yourself back into cameo videos, because we knew he was going to. There's people that you just feel would be gone. And I thought AJ Francis quickly was going to get out of wrestling, do sports broadcasts, try to be a cosplay rapper and shit like that. Guy is fucking committed. Got to give him credit, man. Got to give him credit. Because Rosemary has a significant injury and she will be out of action. They allowed Kira Hogan to team up with Allie, and they retained the Knockouts tag titles, defeating the Elegance brand. Then you had some dark matches. Trey Miguel over Special Agent Zero, The Righteous over BDE and Rich Swann. Why the Righteous in a dark match? And Joe Alonzo retaining the AAW heavyweight title over the Hometown Man. So basically what we have left in this card, which will give you results when they come in as we do the show, the system of Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, Bear Bronson, and Alicia Edwards take on Ricky Sosa, Fabian Aichner, Casey Navarro, and Jada Stone in a lethal lockdown match. With all due respect, there is nothing about those participants that make me want to see that match. They better do something sick, crazy for me to care. I mean, there's nobody in that match I honestly care about. I mean, I watched them, but like, why would I want to see him in a lethal lockdown? Anyway, and the Hardys will defend the TNA tag titles against the Nemeths. And remember, everything's battled in a cage. Everything's battled in a cage. You know, it's like doing war games and having like, right now, having like, I don't know, Austin Theory, Maxine Dupree, the Creed brothers taking on Akira Tozawa, Otis, and whoever else. You know, like, I can't think, you know, like, why would you put that in a lethal lockdown? I don't know. Just something about it doesn't appeal to me. So, all right. Very quickly, 2 quick plugs. If you haven't checked out Wednesday Night Dynamite yet, you must. You must, just to hear the Dustin Rhodes stuff. I enjoyed covering that so much that we actually put Wednesday Night Dynamite on YouTube, which we never do because there's no video. But, you know, it's a spectacular story. I mean, if you just take away everything and you look at the ingredients, Dustin Rhodes got caught in the middle of the night looking at a hot chick with a hot set of tits. He paid attention to a gun and he fucking wrote, "Nice gun." Well, he did the heart emoji and the sign of the horns first. And then he tried to defend it later on, saying, "Oh, I was only focused on her gun." He didn't see the Islamic phobic tweet that she made. He didn't pay attention to the shirt that basically is talking about trans and women's bathrooms, which, you know, honestly, whichever viewpoint you take on that, that's your right. I'm not criticizing one way or the other. I just personally think bringing up Islam and bringing up trans in bathrooms and holding a gun, probably not the smartest take to make. But yeah, he got caught admiring a woman, and Dustin is married. And he left Twitter because of it. He left X. He can't take the heat. Oh, Dustin, you poor soul. You poor soul. Yes, he quit again. They leave again. They leave again. Like, you know, the funny thing is, what a lot of morons don't realize, and I kind of felt bad, out of everybody, I probably felt bad for Priscilla Kelly the most, Gigi Dolan. Because yes, I mean, I don't mean this in any bad way, but she is that much of an airhead sometimes. She had no idea what was going on between Israel and Palestine. And she accepted a booking for an indie event in Israel. And she got vilified for it. And she had no idea. And the agent that represented her made it even worse. So I kind of felt bad for her, the lashback. But the thing is, what a lot of these morons don't realize is when you deactivate your account Not only does that show weakness, but you're just making the story bigger. Sometimes you got to just take it. Take it like, well, there's a phrase, take it like a man, but you take it and you just let it go and it'll quietly disappear. And when these people, not only leave or deactivate, but they got to tell you they're deactivating, like we're going to feel guilty. Honestly, seriously, like we're going to feel guilty that you're going to just deactivate your account and then go on another page. That shows pussiness, weakness. So I don't know. But anyway. And check out the history show this week. Sucker. Check out this week's history show, sucker. Obviously, we had a shitload to get into. This week was loaded, man. Loaded. Big time loaded. Yes. The anniversary of Ilja versus Walter, a.k.a. Gunther, is this week as well. So not a good anniversary week. Just like Cross. Cross has an interesting anniversary week in the WWE. It was the anniversary that he signed. It was the anniversary that he came back from injury and showed up on SmackDown. Remember when Scarlett turned the hourglass upside down, gave the dirty look to Roman Reigns? And it was the same week that he got released, and I think 1 week later, it's the anniversary they put the fucking helmet on him. August and WWE and Cross do not mix. If WWE ever offered Cross a contract again, especially with Scarlett, you just do not negotiate it in August. August is not a good month for him. But all right, very quickly, I'm not gonna make this long. Let me give you my honest take on Ilja Dragunov and the situation with the release. And you know me, I always talk 100. All right. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to base my comments on hearsay because with all due respect, anybody could do a Google search and look back to when somebody signs their contract with the WWE. If you noticed, I did that a while ago, and I gave you a list of people whose contracts are up in September and October. And one of the individuals, if we're being honest, and I will post it, because look, I was going to use this photo for tonight's episode, but then I was like, you know what? It's not official as of yet, but I'm sure if you saw social media today with all the clickbait breaking and my sources tell me this, my sources tell me that, people thought that Johnny Gargano changed his social media profile. He's had the same profile for 3 years. And people today think that, Johnny Gargano's contract is up and WWE's not renewing it, or WWE's offering a pay cut, this, that. So I originally was going to post this. This would have been the thumbnail for tonight's office, but it's not official as of yet. That's where I see Johnny Gargano. And we've been talking about that for months and months and months. We know Candice LeRae's contract is coming up. We know Gargano's is coming up. Ciampa's would have come up. And a few others. If you just do the research, go back 2 years and go back 3 years. Do a time, specific search, and you will make a list of when people signed their contracts. People have said it in interviews. News outlets have reported it. Wrestlers themselves have revealed it. That's how you figure it out. There ain't nobody in WWE in the middle of the night is going to call Dave Meltzer, Dave Schmuckhead, Senor Polak, and tell them, he was offered a deal and he turned it down, or they wanted a pay cut and they did this and he refused to negotiate and they released him and said, nobody knows. Nobody knows. People think they know, and this is how the sausage is made. All right, so when you hear people making questions, and I know right now somebody on Patreon's like, you mentioned his fucking name. Well, this is a big news item, and I promise I won't mention him again. Lips are sealed. But my point is, nobody knows what went on in those conversations with Ilja Dragunov and WWE. We don't know if they offered him a new deal. We don't know if they offered him a pay cut. We don't know if they offered him GOTS. We don't know. All I know is this. This feels a lot like Sheamus. Only difference is he's half the size of Sheamus. I have always been a huge fan of Ilja Dragunov in NXT. And that's the problem here. That's the problem here. When people see Takahashi show up as Kayuki, Sanyo, Hakushi, when you show up, all right, yeah, it's a nice buzz, it's a little pop and this and that. If you can't talk to the WWE Universe, unless you're going to sit there and go, indeed, you're going to have a much harder time getting over. When the Motor City Machine Guns debuted, I got a lot of bullshit on the shows because people said, hey, DT, what do you think about their debut? I said, they did fine, but give it a couple of months and the sizzle will be gone. And the reason being is because they look like two middle-aged wrestlers with very bad haircuts, very, very bland milquetoast. And what's their gimmick that connects with the kids in the WWE Universe? I said this 1,000 times. You would hear, what would the kids do? Oh, the music. Like there's nothing. They don't cut promos and everybody goes with it. Matt Cardona. Boo, boo, boo. You tore it. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But Matt Cardona, he comes back. Oh, I worked hard for my return. I'm serious now. I'm king of the death match. No. Zack Ryder's dead and Matt Cardona's here. I'm like, yeah. That's like getting married to a nympho and then not having sex. And then after 2-3 weeks, the nympho's like, where's the sex? With Matt Cardona, where's the substance? Why? Because he's friends with someone? Why? Because he's married to Chelsea Green? Why? Because he used to do Zack Ryder? I've said this 1,000 times. Nothing personal against the guy. But if he doesn't have a connection with the WWE Universe, he's going to be a problem. This is not any shot on Matt Cardona. This is not any shot on Ilja Dragunov. This is not any shot on Johnny Gargano. It's not any shot on anybody else. WWE has a track record of not being able to utilize certain types of talent. They have had a shit job in the past with Japanese talents, especially those that don't speak English. You get one or two rare circumstances. Io Sky, beautiful to see what happened with her. Asuka, absolutely love her. Kairi Sane, we all appreciate Kairi Sane, but we knew Kairi Sane, WWE never had any faith in her as a single star. When we did predictions for WrestleMania, myself and Joey 924, we talked about Kairi Sane then, and we said, I'm a little concerned. What's her future without Asuka? Because WWE's never proven to me that they can actually push her and utilize her. WWE has a certain style about themselves. And when you watch it as long as I have, you see the trend. And the trend does not lean positive or forward when there is limitations from the get-go. And that's the problem with Ilja Dragunov. Ilja Dragunov is a beast. I think he sells better than anybody else. His facial reactions, you believe that he is hurting. The way he you believe he's suffering. That guy could work. That guy could put on a performance. Him versus Walter, one of my favorite matches in the last 20 or 30 years. It's been on my history show the last 3 seasons because that's how much it means to yours truly. But as far as a main roster guy, they gave him the United States title from Sami Zayn, and they did guts with it. It was shit. Then everybody remembers the Royal Rumble from January where he hit one of his shots. And you guys may remember when we used to cover SmackDown, and I used to say, how come nobody is selling like really hard for Dragunov shots? It just felt like this was like a little man fighting a big battle, and WWE never on TV wanted to give that perception that the little man could. And I think his days were numbered for a while. And let's not forget the most important thing that a shitload of people the last 24 to 48 hours did not bring it up. Did not bring up. Shame, 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 shame on you. What did they not bring up? Ilja was out with a fucking torn ACL for a long, long time. That's why I said it reminds me a little bit of Sheamus. Sheamus hasn't even wrestled yet in 2026. And I don't like TKO. But when TKO goes to Sheamus, it's like, hey, listen, we gotta cut your pay down a little bit. Fella, that's not happening, fella. You haven't fucking wrestled yet, this year, motherfucker. You've wrestled 20 matches in the last 18 months. You want us to pay you fucking millions of dollars? Is it our fault that you got married and you fucking told your wife that you're a multi-millionaire WWE must have? Is it our fault that you're living too much of a high lifestyle? You haven't done anything. I mean, I'm kind of ad-libbing what the conversation could have been. Maybe if Sheamus was negotiating a contract for my neck of the woods, but the thing is, with Ilja Dragunov, that guy got paid and he was out for almost a year? He was off TV for almost a year. So his contract comes up. I could see WWE or TKO turn around and saying, hey, listen, we haven't used you all that much. You were out for a year. We want to keep you around, but we can't pay you, what we paid you last time, or we can't raise it. So again, I want to make this perfectly clear without mentioning some people's names. We don't know what went on in those conversations. There are people out there that are trying to convince you that they know. Isn't it kind of funny that they never know about the ongoing negotiations? They only seem to tell you once something happens. It's like somebody dies. Oh, I knew all along that he was battling cancer. Oh, I knew all along that she was sleeping with someone else. You wait until the final decision. Suddenly you got all these magical scoops. Magical scoops. It's like you have a cereal box and you eat the entire box of cereal. And then all of a sudden, oh, look, the prize. Like, no, the cereal's already gone, man. No. You don't fucking turn around. No. So my honest opinion, as much as I am a fan of Ilja Dragunov, that's someone that was going to have a really difficult time on that main roster. And I just personally feel that he was never a good fit once they brought him up. There's some people you just feel are not going to be a good fit, and he was one of them. And WWE never showed us true faith. I don't care how many times fucking Triple H points to someone. You point to someone because they won a title. That's not you giving a seal of approval. And here's the worst part about it. When you see Ilja not being used all that much, when you see people on Raw not being used all that much, if you feel Rusev is being jobbed out, you feel this person's being used like shit, this person's not even on TV, look what they're doing to Kiana James, look what they're doing with Julia, look what they're doing with this person, the fuck are they doing with Blake Monroe? Understand something. Creative could change it in a second. It is creatives choosing to use them this way. So a lot of it can be blamed on creative themselves. Matt Cardona tore his tricep. And before he tore his tricep earlier this week, a fan called him out because of the Gunther joke about him being in catering. Matt Cardona thought he had an awesome comeback for social media. He answered back this fan and says, I'm not the one who writes the shows. That was his answer to why he's in catering. Basically, it's, creative not putting him on the shows. Hey, sir, do not give WWE a reason to take you off TV. Sir, do something where WWE forces your ass on TV. He thought he had the perfect comeback. The point is, you make sure you're doing something where they got to find a spot for you. Remember last Sunday? Logistical reasons. Did you see with Ricky Saints yesterday and now with fucking Ray Phoenix and others? Why was that cut? Logistical reasons again? No, they're just taking the advantage that they have other platforms to air segments. Hey, Ray, come here. Hey, Ricky, here. Come here. Hey, let's record this. We'll throw it on social media. But the point is, WWE did not feel it was worthy enough for the main show. So they air it afterwards. Personally, it's better than nothing. But Ilja, with all due respect, where is he a good fit? Could he have bangers in AEW? Absolutely. No question about it. Do you want to see Ilja Dragunov in Ring of Honor? Do you want to see him have a fucking 16-minute match with Lee Johnson on Collision? Do you want to see him have a fucking barn burner with Claudio Castagnoli on a random episode for no fucking particular reason? No, I don't. Honestly, I don't even know if he's a good fit in TNA. Who is going to work his style? And his style is very, very different. And you really have to work with his style to make him that much better. When he doesn't have that style, NXT, he had a plethora of people. Even people that did not work his style adapted to his style. That's why, surprisingly, the shit that he did with Trick and even the spot with Olber and others, it was pleasantly good. It was surprising how good it was. The problem is, on the main roster, it is a whole different machine. So, realistically, I could see Ilja going back overseas. I don't think he's a good fit in TNA. I don't know how much in the indie circuit he would have matches. Listen, if Josh Barnett's Bloodsport was still around, he'd be a perfect fit. Can he work GCW? Absolutely. Can you make a living working all of those promotions and stay in the States? I don't know about that. So that's just my honest opinion. I think he goes back overseas, and if AEW signs him, there'll be a buzz for a short period of time, and then it'll just be a Ring of Honor match or a Collision match. I want to see him work at a place where his talent is maximized. He doesn't need to be a world champion everywhere he goes. He doesn't need to be the center of attention where he goes, but you don't want to feel like he's just filling a spot. That's an ingredient that would be better for a small pond. He'd be a great fish in a small pond. In a big pond, I just think it was never the chance. Just like, if we're being honest, without naming podcasts out there. You remember last year with the John Cena Classic? You remember people making the buzz about Carmelo Hayes? Oh, WWE's going to put the Jets behind Carmelo Hayes in 2026. I remember calling out some of those people. Some of them are my friends. I said, what are you basing that on? You're basing it on what you watched on TV, or are you going to take a step back and say, does he fit that WWE mold? And then we saw, right into WrestleMania, hey, Mello, thank you for your great United States title run. We're going to give the belt to Sami Zayn because we want him on WrestleMania's card. You worry about getting engaged and getting married. But we could do a three-way with Trick Williams. Yes, we can, but we're not, and we saw it a mile away. Just some people, WWE just will never use the right way. And there's some people that Tony Khan will use and treat it like a new toy. To me, Tony Khan is just like my dogs, Bruno and Bella. I mean, shout out to my dogs. Shout out to my dogs. That's Bella. Shout out to her. And that's Bruno. But that's Bruno. They're just like my dogs. What happens? I give them a new squeaky toy. I'll hold the squeaky toy in my hand. Look, everyone, it's Ilja. Look, Ilja the giraffe. Oh, look, everybody, look, we got two little new toys. It's called the Inspiration. And they're jumping up, and they can't wait for the toy, and they're crying and this and that, and I pull the tabs off and the plastic and the paper wrap, and I have the toys in my hand. Oh, yeah. 5 minutes later, the fucking toy is in the corner. They play with the toy for a few seconds, and it's like, okay, where's the next one? Where's the next one? That's kind of what I feel happens with Tony Khan also. So, there are other releases coming. The big question is who? Now, Julia, I think, is going to be safe for the foreseeable future because WWE just trademarked her name. I mean, could you imagine they just trademarked her name and then they release her? You know what I mean? It's like, that ain't happening. Unless they got somebody lined up in the fucking ID or the Evolve program that they're going to name Julia, and they just wanted to trademark it so they could keep that name. But no, I think Julia is safe for a while. But some of the people we've talked about in the past, I think some people, just like the last couple of years, August and September have been notoriously the time frame where WWE does some fall cleaning. I would not be surprised this week. And let me remind you also something too, something that you guys may not realize. What's going on in football right now? What's going on with the NFL? What happens around this time of the year? Cuts. You start trimming down the roster. I'm not saying that WWE is going to have roster cuts coincidentally at the same time that the NFL does. But because WWE with sports and the ESPN connection and everything else, why did they do the draft when they did with Fox? You remember the draft? Why did they do it when they did? Because it kind of bled into sports. Why did they do the transfer window? Remember the transfer window? Why did they do that? Based on sports. So it would not surprise me with the NFL doing cuts. Well, just like the NFL, we have people in developmental. We got to bring them up, and then we have to make room. And unfortunately, we have to make room for others. That doesn't mean a person can't be brought back in the future. That's pretty much what's going to happen. The big question now is who? Who? All right, so let me just say one other thing, and this might surprise some of you out there. Yes, I did put Lil Yachty in this thumbnail also. For those that don't know, Lil Yachty will be taking on the United States champion Baron Corbin at Saturday night's main event. Shame on those people out there that didn't even watch SmackDown, because I saw some people yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs. What the fuck? They fucking, look what they did with Ilja Dragunov. Fuck. He's going to fight fucking Baron Corbin for the title? What the fuck is that? You let go of fucking United States and then you give this motherfucker title? You guys and gals didn't even watch SmackDown. The stipulation is, they're in Atlanta, Georgia. Remember that part. They're in Atlanta, Georgia. The stipulation is, if Lil Yachty can stay in the ring with Baron Corbin for 5 minutes, Trick Williams gets a title shot. Same night, same bat channel, Sunday night's main event. So they're in Atlanta, very, very friendly to Trick Williams and Lil Yachty. Baron Corbin's already the inside of my asshole. So what do you think WWE's going to do with no premium live event scheduled in September and doing Sunday night's main event, which I honestly think this might be the best Sunday night, best main event, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think they did a Monday night's main event. I think they did a Friday night's main event too. Did at least once. But I think this might be the best one that they have done in a shitload of a long time, even before they went on hiatus with these events. This card could end up being one of the best cards, and it's only going to be 4 or 5 matches. It's only going to be 4 or 5 matches. But remember, Saturday night's main event is kind of like in the middle between a house show and a premium live event. It's kind of in the middle. It's not replacing a house show, but it's not premium live event quality. If you stay somewhere around the middle, you usually kind of, know what you're getting. It's like going to a budget diner. You go to a budget diner. You're not expecting 5-star meal, but you're not expecting garbage either. If you go there with the right mindset, and you're going there for some good eating, you walk out of there, you don't feel ripped off. But if you walk in there, where the fuck is the filet mignon? Where the fuck is the red wine? I don't want fucking tap water. I want core water. What the fuck is this? Well, you're going to be mildly disappointed. Even for the legends and the Hall of Famers out there that are now podcasting, and they all bitch and complain about Saturday night's main event. There's only 4 matches. Why do they have all these commercials? Why do they do this? Why do they do that? It doesn't feel like a house show. It shouldn't feel like a house show. It's not supposed to be. So go in it with the right mindset. You will not be disappointed. My honest opinion, I think Lil Yachty will get his ass kicked. I think Baron Corbin is going to tease him, go for a pin, pick him up, troll him, make it feel he's going to give Lil Yachty 4 minutes and 30 seconds of pain. And then Lil Yachty, one of 2 things will happen. Lil Yachty will somehow move out of the way. It'll be kind of Akira Tozawa meets Nia Jax, if you remember that. Moves out of the way, and suddenly, holy shit, Lil Yachty, oh my God, I don't believe it. And he outlasts the 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden the bell rings and Trick Williams hits that ring and Baron Corbin doesn't know what the fuck is going on and everybody's losing their minds and Trick Williams wins the belt and all is good again in the world. Or Lil Yachty has a submission move on him and he's screaming and writhing in pain and it's 4 minutes and 42 seconds and Trick is like, hold on, only 18 seconds. And Atlanta's going 17, 16, 15, 4. I'm not counting down all the way to 0. And then all of a sudden, right when he's like at 3, or he passes out. Even better, he passes out and the referee calls for the bell with 2 seconds left. And everybody be like, you motherfucking ref, you called the bell? That's what they could do. That's just my mind running a little bit. That's what I would do. I'm not complaining. When I first thought about it, I'm kind of like, Then it started to sink in. I'm like, you know what? Saturday night's main event, Sunday night's main event, whatever you want to call it. I could see this. I honestly think there'll be a good outcome coming out of this. And don't forget, CM Punk is advertised for Sunday night's main event. No match confirmed as of yet. Might even just be a talking segment. But he is advertised for Sunday night's main event. Remember that. We talked about it Wednesday. No one's talking about that. So that's my honest take about the Lil Yachty situation. So a lot of you were bringing that up. So, all right. Before we get into all your questions, you know what? Let me get into a couple of quick super shout outs, if you don't mind. And a little bit later, I'll give you my revelation. Now, yes, I'm not going to lie. This is an AI photo because unfortunately, I don't know how to fucking make a Mount Rushmore that looks like a mountain with a WWE logo in it. I'm not that talented. So I had to ask the computer to do it for me. I mean, let's be honest. Listen, I'm not hiring AI to replace anybody's jobs. But, with a half hour left in the show, I'm like, hey, make me a mountain with a bunch of question marks in it. So who are my picks for the Mount Rushmore of WWE stars or WWE personnel not in the WWE Hall of Fame? I'll give you that in a little bit. All right. First on the menu for this evening, Chainsaw Charlie. My friend, I love your name. And I take pride being a lifelong Terry Funk fan. He says, DT, before your show, please check out the new YouTube channel, The Hard Man Cometh, and comment on his wrestling clown videos. By the way, Terry Funk died 3 years ago today. What are your favorite memories of Terry Funk? First off, I'd be here for an hour if I gave you my favorite memories of Terry Funk. The best memories I could give you, listen, other than television, we could talk about the I Quit match with Ric Flair. We could talk about him beating the shit out of Mel Phillips. We could talk about everything he's done in his lifetime. For me personally, one of my favorite moments is, and I brought this up on Patreon Thursday, driving to Connecticut with Lowlife Louis Ramos, King of the Deathmatch. Driving Louis and me to Connecticut to a wrestling house show, an indie event. Terry Funk was fighting Lowlife Louis Ramos in a semi-main event. Louis broke his front tooth in half that night. I don't know if Louis has ever fixed that tooth, but I know as of a bunch of years ago, Louis still had the cracked tooth. And when anybody ever said to him, how'd you crack your tooth? Oh, Terry Funk. He legitimately broke his tooth. And after the match was over, Louis, myself, and Terry Funk were in the parking lot. I think it was a fireman's place. I think it was like a firefighter's place. We were out in the parking lot drinking beer. And I don't drink beer. But if you're going to say to me, oh, you're drinking with Terry Funk and Louis Ramos, I'm drinking beer. So that's one of my most beautiful memories. Another one was when Terry Funk did the R Video Shoot interview, I think in 1997 it was, I think it was 1997. He was one half of the WWF Tag Team Champions with Cactus Jack. And I was personally invited to go to Philly to not only, meet Terry Funk, but actually be able to have lunch with a whole bunch of people. And a lot of people know this story. on the way home, I think it was Feinstein. I know, you don't need to say it, but Feinstein said to me, hey, we're going to do a shoot interview later on. If you want to call in and ask him a question, here's the number. We'll be doing it at this time. If you go check out the Terry Funk shoot interview, you'll hear me on it. But on my way home, I got into a road rage incident with some guy and his wife. And when we got out of the car, all of a sudden, this woman is pulling the hair of my ex-wife. I mean, yanking it out of her hair. I mean, these two women fucking went at it. Cops were called. People almost got arrested. So I drove all the way to Philly to hang out with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, have a little lunch, go all the way home, get a road rage incident, and ask Terry Funk a question on a shoot interview. And I got proof. Go to my X page, my Twitter account, at Don Tony D. You will see on my profile the picture of me with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack that day. It is true. That's one of my favorites. Working XPW and doing timekeeping and having Terry Funk fight Shane Douglas. And not only did Terry Funk pull Lizzie Borden's panties down, and then I think he pile drove her, which is crazy in itself. But Terry Funk went outside at the ECW arena brawling with Shane Douglas. And I'm doing timekeeping, so we go outside also. And all of a sudden, they're working their way in, and we run back inside. And all of a sudden, I look at Slash, and he's like, and I'm like, what happened? And Terry Funk, while he was outside, broke a bottle against the ECW arena and then cut his arm, I guess just to draw blood. And he cut his arm so deep that you actually saw the tendon and the bone in his arm. He goes back in the ring and he's like this, my arm, and literally looks at us, and you could actually see me, and I'm like this, oh my God. And after the match was over, I'll never forget it. Shane Douglas throwing furniture and throwing shit behind the scenes, livid, because no one could understand why Terry did that. Obviously, he didn't do it on purpose, but he had to go to the hospital. It was just, being that close and personal. But my best thing, and I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but a lot of you have seen it. If you go check out my coverage of his and Bray Wyatt's death last year, you'll see it. When I got engaged in 1998, Terry Funk wrote me a 2-page letter, and I still have it. I have it stored away somewhere. But he sent me a branding iron. He sent me an original T-shirt, which I could pull out and show you all tomorrow. And I still have all of that. Gave me all this stuff for free because I got engaged. I annulled that shit. That bitch is history. Thank God. My wife now is spectacular. But my marriage lasted all about a month back in the day. So that's a couple of my memories of Terry Funk personally. I love that man. He was such a good guy and crazy. But he knew exactly what he was doing all the time. So I miss him dearly. Now, as far as his YouTube channel, I did check it out earlier because you posted your super chat early. All right. For those that don't know, there's a YouTube channel that's only maybe a month old, maybe a little more than that. And it's someone called The Hard Man Cometh. And basically what he's doing is he is ripping the shit out of a bunch of podcasters. JD from New York, Denise Salcedo, Wrestling Days, Solomonster, yours truly. He's ripping on everybody. Romero, I keep thinking of Ed Romero, but no. Look, it's a reaction channel, and he is criticizing people's rants on stuff. All I'm going to say is this. To me, there's an old saying, if you can give it, you better be able to take it. And I know I am not a perfect person. I absolutely deserve criticism. If you do it in an entertaining way, I'll laugh at it too. All right? I'm not endorsing it. I'm not crapping on it. All I'm saying is I don't watch it too deep, but I will say this. Guy is fucking funny. He reminds me of Sam Kinison. He reminds me of Sam Kinison, the way he talks. Like, he'll just be criticizing someone, and then all of a sudden be like just how Sam Kinison would be like. And it's a funny channel. Some of his criticism, I absolutely agree with some people. Some of his criticism, I think, is far off. But hey, it's a funny channel. You know, people find it entertaining. It's very negative, don't question about it. But, you know, hey, you know, it is what it is. And I got criticized too. So it's not like, you know, he's praising me, so I'm going to give love back. You know, you super chatted me. You wanted me to see it. I saw it. You guys want to go check it out. Be warned. Be warned. A lot of negativity. So, all right. Thank you very much for that, Chainsaw Charlie. Todd Pelkey, much love to you, my friend. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Hope everything is good. So thank you as always for your support, my friend. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for that, Todd. Jim Kahn, thank you for your generosity. He says, Punk should have turned heel after taking the belt from Sammy. He's already had controversies, true or not, and those feuds with Cody and Kevin Owens need heat. CM Punk is still insanely over with the WWE Universe. It's funny because this week's history show, I added a lot of Easter eggs that wasn't on last season. Something we did not put on last season's episode was the interview that got Joey Styles fired from WWE 10 years ago. And if you go check out this week's history show, you'll hear it. Kathy Kelly, who just got signed with the WWE, interviews Joey Styles. And this interview was for WWE social media. Now, back in 2016, WWE did not like the internet much. There was a time, my friends, there was a time that WWE did not support the internet at all. They hated it. They were totally against it. Once they realized they could make a shitload of money off of it, they embraced it. All right, that's what it was like. I mean, when you see some wrestling nostalgia sites now say, here's a fact, fans used to stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning to watch ECW. Like, in years, they're going to say, true fact, that WWE back in the mid-2010s absolutely hated the internet. Joey Styles in his interview talks about how much Vince McMahon and WWE hate the hardcore internet wrestling fan. Doesn't even talk about the people who criticize. They just do not like the internet fans. And he said a bunch of other things as well. But the thing is this, Roman Reigns, in that interview, he addresses why so many fans hate that WWE shoving Roman Reigns down our throat. That's not something you say under the Vince McMahon regime. Shit got him fired. But Vince, as he also said, Vince McMahon saw Roman Reigns as a baby face. He saw something in him and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And Vince McMahon has been right a hell of a lot more than he's been wrong. So my point is even though there's this noise that CM Punk should have turned heel, what's best for business right now? All right, the Paul Heyman stuff on Monday about cutting a promo and saying like, you know, we don't do these matches on free TV. That was a fucking promo. It's just like, you know, like this match, it's going to be a WrestleMania main event. Just that Paul Heyman said in a way as a heel, like, we're not going to give you some free TV. Hell, we're not going to do it in this fucking godforsaken town. We got to wait until it matters the most. We got to answer to the stockholders. It's a character. Makes sense, but that doesn't mean you're not going to fucking give good matches on free TV. It's Paul Heyman doing a character. People took it seriously, which was ridiculous. But as far as CM Punk goes, there is enough noise that people feel that Punk should have turned heel. The problem is he is still one of the most over people. Look at the house shows. Look at the international touring. People fucking go nuts for this guy, just like Cody Rhodes. I can't be the only person for the last 3 years. At some point, every single show out there at some point the last 2-3 years called that Cody Rhodes was turning heel. I mean, some people just decided to do it every year, like What Culture? Well, you saw it. Unpopular opinion, Cody. There's the moment. He's turning heel. It's the annual tradition. Every year, people are like, oh, Cody's turning heel. Oh, he's going to turn heel. No fucking way when you see the kind of reaction these guys get. I don't think it's the right time to turn CM Punk heel, especially when it comes to Kevin Owens. We don't know how long this storyline is going to go. You know, the problem is if the Kevin Owens CM Punk interaction is only going to be for 2 months, you're going to throw away all of this momentum with CM Punk just to make this storyline feel a little bit more real. Friends could sometimes, have issues with each other, especially when it's competitive for a wrestling company. Yes, you could have two baby faces that both want the same thing, the WWE Championship. And that's good enough. But you can't simply, it's kind of like Obafemi. Like, there's enough people out there right now that think that Paul Heyman should be the advocate for Obafemi right now. I think that's ridiculous. There are people out there that say, oh, Stephanie McMahon should turn heel and align herself with Dominic Mysterio. That's actually not that bad when you think about it, but not now. Not now. It's way too soon. So I don't think they should have turned him heel simply to satisfy this. Even the Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton stuff. WWE understands Randy Orton is too well liked right now. You don't have the right ingredients to get Randy Orton over as a monster heel. It would be a very difficult job to do. So rather than focus on trying to get fans to boo Randy Orton, you try to make the feud between him and Cody feel a little bit more realistic. I personally don't have any issues with either feud right now. We knew Sami Zayn was going to ruin this match on Friday. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When who was it that sent me this earlier? Hold on. Chainsaw Charlie. When he told me about that Hard Man Cometh channel, I watched the clip where he trashed me, and I watched some of what he did over the weekend. And he was talking about a few podcasters that were extremely disappointed in the outcome of SmackDown's main event. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect those people, but how the fuck did you not see this coming? Everybody that I talked to, a lot of you out there, all said, they're in Canada. Sami Zayn's going to get involved with this. Sami Zayn's going to cause the finish. People were extremely disappointed. What the hell were you thinking of? Do you think it was going to be just a clean finish and a handshake after and everybody goes off the air clapping? Or people just having that reaction because, sometimes you got to take like when you debate someone, sometimes you got to take a viewpoint that I don't want to take that viewpoint. Like when I grew up and I went to school back in the day, they would have a class for debate. And I hated debate when I was a kid. And they would say, okay, you're going to debate this. You and you are going to debate each other. And the topic is whatever. And you're going to take this side and you're going to take this side and make the argument for why you should win. And I don't remember any of the topics, but all I know is that I hated it because I always felt like if I'm going to defend something, it's got to come from here. Like I can't sit here and defend something, argue with something that I truly don't believe. That's why I love debating now. I drool, and that's why there's so many people out there that won't invite me on their shows. I think a lot of them are afraid that if I get into a debate about something with WWE or AEW or something creative or something like that, or a wrestler, and I start throwing out certain points, especially when you talk about understanding WWE business, it might be unpopular, but if you understand how things operate, then it's crystal clear why something could happen. That's why so many things in the past, Kevin, I God rest his soul, would nail. Because people wouldn't look at it like that. But, when it comes to, as far as the, CM Punk and Kevin Owens or Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, fans like Randy Orton too much. So just keep focusing on the storyline and it'll be fine. But we got to see where it goes from here. Now, doesn't mean Sami Zayn, is not going to be challenging for a championship. This could lead to a 4-way. It could lead to a 5-way. We don't know. I mean, it could very well be a situation where multiple people could be involved. And I got to be honest with you. Remember how Sami Zayn won the championship? Remember how he won the championship? Look at how Kevin Owens became #1 contender. basically was involved in more than just a one-on-one match and took advantage of a situation. So if they do a 3-way or 4-way or even a 5-way down the line with CM Punk holding the belt, that makes things very interesting. I absolutely would buy into Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn versus CM Punk versus Kevin Owens. And we don't even know what the hell they're going to do with Gunther. I absolutely think, you think of all the little feuds that come out of that. I mean, man, you don't need to change anybody. You don't have to have anybody turn, in my honest opinion. So thank you for that. Steve Joseph, did I find any more information on Sammy Guevara? No. The only thing I know right now is that he's in his mid-30s. We don't know in Sammy Guevara's heart if what he has done at this point he's content with. Obviously he wants more. Obviously, changing your social media, changing certain things about your profile will always get attention. So honestly, when it comes to Sammy Guevara, the thing is if you look in the mirror right now, Steve, any of you look in the mirror, if I look in the mirror, and you look at yourself and you say, up until right this moment, am I happy with what I have done to get to this moment? Whatever it is, job, relationship, just status in life. Only you know that true answer. And deep down inside, we don't know if Sammy Guevara ever wanted to be the focal point, the champion, the center of attention, a legend, a Hall of Famer, touring the world. Like, what he's done in AEW up until now, he met his wife. He's got a beautiful kid. I don't know if they have more than one, but he might be content with what he has had so far. He may like to be able to be utilized a little bit more because he's not really doing much right now, but we don't know how far he truly wanted to go. But all I know is it feels like yesterday when he was the Spanish God in his upper 20s, long career ahead. Now the guy's fucking 35, not a kid no more. So he's a parent. And I don't know if we'll ever know. Unless Sammy Guevara leaves AEW, goes on Ariel Helwani or Chris Van Vliet, and just opens up. I think that's it. Listen, you will have a whole bunch of journalists out there. My sources tell me this about Guevara, this about management, or this about this. And at the end of the day, take note that management and the people involved are never the ones who told them. It's always, I was told, my sources told me. Every time a story breaks, you notice the topic of conversation never communicated with any of them. And the people who were involved in the decision never communicated with them either. It's always a fly on the wall. It's always Jose the janitor that just happened to be wiping down the desk when he heard someone on the phone. Ilja, we're not paying you that fucking money. It's never the people involved in the conversation. So unless Sammy Guevara reveals it in an interview, I don't think we'll ever truly know. That's my honest opinion. So, what did Avery Styles do on lockdown? Anybody know in the chat? What did Avery Styles do? By the way, here's the other match outcomes because TNA Lockdown is in the books now. Oh, no. Well, the system beat Ricky Sosa, Fabian Aichner, Casey Navarro, and Jada Stone, but the Nemets regained the TNA tag titles, defeating the Hardys. I mean, nothing against fucking Dolph Ziggler, but his brother. Like, you have the Righteous. You have other teams. Like, why waste fucking Nick Nemeth, like, in a tag with his brother Ryan? I mean, I get it. They're close brothers, and they do work good together. But, boy, I don't know. I don't like that outcome, to be honest with you. So Avery Styles signed with TNA. Good move. Will this lead to AJ Styles having a match with his son? I don't think WWE would be upset at that. I really don't. Especially if it's TNA and it's a novelty match. I don't think I have a problem with it. AJ Styles lost his retirement to Gunther. I don't have any issue. I mean, I know most of us would have thought that if AJ wrestled, it probably wouldn't be for like another 3 to 5 years from now, when Avery Styles is more established. But I got news for you. If he does a little storyline and wants to give his son a little rub, I don't have any issue with AJ Styles having one match with his son in TNA. Question would be who, obviously. I don't think I would do him. I don't think those two versus the Nemeths. I don't think a tag title match should be I think it should be something much lower on the food chain. You know, I don't think, and honestly, with all the controversy lately with Avery Styles, having him work a tag team title match, you know, in the near future, I think would be a little bit of a mistake. I think, you know, I personally feel that Avery Styles did nothing wrong with the situation with, I think it was GCW this happened. I didn't see nothing wrong with it. Obviously, that Eric Cannon prick just wanted 5 minutes of attention. All this should have been done behind the scenes. Someone should have stepped up, pulled the kid aside, and had a conversation with him. And you keep it off the internet. That's the problem. And this is why, to me, Eric Cannon will always be a jackass. Because these motherfuckers know you put something on social media, it never leaves. It never disappears. It may subside, but now that shit is there forever. You got a young kid, new to the business, works a show. If everybody else is sweating and putting up a ring and he's sitting aside with his fucking iPod or his fucking AirPods and he's just watching everybody else work and not doing nothing, you don't run the fucking, I'm not saying he did that, but you don't run the fucking X because that's a pussy move. You step up, you put the person aside and you say, hey, listen, you know, even if you don't know how to put a ring together, maybe you should just ask. You know, we always ask. That would have been the right thing to do. Nobody stepped up and just took this person aside. They decided to carry it to social media. I fucking hate that. I hate that with a passion. I still hate it when people I know and people that I never even met, you know, are complaining online that they're receiving death threats. Somebody's going to out their kid, you know, expose their wife, expose their personal information. And they never go to the cops. They fucking go to social media. I will never, ever understand. And I understand it. 9 times out of 10, the story is fake. Because the last thing you're going to do is fucking file a false report. You dare fucking complain to the cops or the FBI or a cybercrime, and they find out that you're just lying, you're just mad at somebody on Twitter that called you an asshole, you'll get arrested for that shit. But if somebody truly threatens your family, threatens this, threatens that, that's why, with all due respect, I'm not going to name the woman or the couple, 2 females, but you guys will remember there was an incident in AEW. Somebody, you know, complained about working such a short amount of time in a match. And then they claimed on their live stream that they got all these death threats. And just imagine somebody who's on a live stream who's gay getting death threats. You didn't go to the cops. You just write an X post. So 500 people could give you a heart emoji. Oh, my love, my prayers are with you. Oh, that's terrible. You got my support. How do you not go to the fucking cops? You know, things like that get under my skin. Somebody fucking threatens you, go to the cops, then go on social media. But 9 times out of 10, people think, oh, the internet police, they'll make it all better. Meanwhile, if someone really didn't make death threats, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Just go on X, and then, God forbid, you deal with a legitimate psycho like what happened with Liv Morgan and others, and the motherfucker shows up at your house? And what do you do then? Holy shit, I didn't really think you were going to come here. You didn't call the cops. Go on X now. Go on X now. Tell the whole world. Let's see how many people, you know, somehow go through your camera and stop the man. You imagine doing a live stream. Somebody threatens to kill you. You do nothing about it. Then you do it in live stream and then a motherfucker breaks into your house 6 months later. I hope it happens on a live stream because I want to see how many people chat you to the rescue. What are you going to do? Get 1,000 people in the chat room and go, stop, stop, with big capital letters and emojis. Stop it, stop it now, stop it. What does that do? What does that do? I'm still in trouble. All right. Yeah, more cuts to be announced. You have call-ups coming. You have contracts expiring. If you look at history with WWE, right around August and September is another flurry of cuts. Not too long ago, you had, the Elena Black set of cuts. You remember last year, the shit would cross, and there were others as well. Right around now, people are starting to prepare that they could be getting the phone call or getting the text message. There are absolutely more cuts coming. You have some contracts that are coming up to expiration. And that's what's happening. And again, listen, I know I teased Johnny Gargano earlier. Do I want to see Johnny Gargano released? Absolutely not. But I've been telling you guys for months and months and months, Johnny Gargano's contract expires around October, September, October. And now you saw all the nonsense today that, Gargano changed his profile. He didn't change his profile. But the point is, now people researched it. And they see his contract is coming up to a close, as is Candice LeRae and others. And when you have Lola Vice coming up, and now you see some others, Tatum Paxley already brought up, and you're making room, some other people are going to be cut. We don't like to bring up individual names because I think it's messed up to mention somebody and then they're not cut. Imagine finding out, that everybody thinks you're being released. Even if WWE had no intention, but they start putting the thought in their head, a lot of people, don't seem to have too much of a problem with this person being released. I don't know if anybody ever got released because WWE Universe, were not too, bitchy about it. But there absolutely cuts coming. The roster is too bloated right now. SmackDown went from 3 hours to 2. It doesn't go back to 3 hours till the first week in January. That's not news. That's computation. In case you don't know, WWE and USA Network, their TV deal is 6 months, 3 hours, 6 months, 2 hours. And you do the math, starts the beginning of every year, and it goes back to 2 hours in the summertime. And that 6 months is a long time. And some people that were barely scratching TV time with 3 hour shows are now doing 2 hour shows. And now, on top of it, you're trying to attract more people to go to these shows, and you're using WWE talent. You just had Obafemi work a show. You had the Vision work the last week's SmackDown. How's about using more of the people that haven't been on TV? So the fact that they're bringing in Raw people to work, even if it's a dark match, the fact that you're bringing Raw people, those people are not even getting an opportunity when there's a dark match. There's some names that have been off Raw, if you really think about it. I don't want to mention any names, but you look and just go to the WWE roster page and just look. You'd be like, holy shit, this person hasn't been on. This person hasn't been on. What happened to these two people? And you'll be kind of surprised. It's a little concerning. And then you remember that this is TKO, and the idea of people being a lifer is not as big as what it used to be. You look at the Bayley situation. We don't know what's going to end up happening with Bayley, but it would not surprise anyone if Bayley ends up leaving. I don't think it would surprise anybody because TKO, it's more about what have you done for me lately and money. And just like the Ilja situation, it's a lot like Sheamus. Ilja was injured for a year. He got paid. And then when he wasn't injured, WWE Creative really didn't do much with him. So TKO looks at it and they're like, why are we paying this guy this kind of money? And I can only imagine what that meeting looks like. Hey, Ilja, we're not using you that much. We can't pay you that much. And I'm sure Ilja's mindset is, well, use me. Well, use me. And I agree with that. But you can't force a company to use you. So they make an offer. He doesn't want it. or he puts out a number out there and they don't want it, and that's where it ends up. You know, the New Day situation, I think everybody understands that. You know, you could say props to Kofi and props to Xavier Woods standing by their ground. But, you know, at some point you also got to say to yourself, well, look at how many years they were on top. Maybe it is time for them to take a step back and work a little bit of a less schedule. You look at Rey Mysterio. A lot of people believe that Rey Mysterio, they wanted to cut his salary significantly. They're not using him on TV anywhere near what they thought they were. Wouldn't surprise me with the Seth Rollins stuff. Hey, I think that's aged kind of well. We did that Seth Rollins problem. It's going on a month. This Monday's Raw will be, what, the third Raw in a row. Now, Seth could be on tomorrow. But if he's not, you don't find it interesting that we kind of thought that WWE has a problem using this man? And then the next 3 weeks, nothing? People thought we were nuts. So that's pretty much what we have coming. Yeah, Scorpion, we talked about Peacock's prices going up on Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite, but here's a little tidbit in case you don't know. All right? I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but here's an opportunity where you can legitimately save. It's not much, but check this out. Peacock, even their premium with ads, I think the membership is $12.99 a month. I think that's what it's going up to. So if you sign up for Peacock for Saturday night's main event and the SmackDown library, by the way, I'm shocked how many of you out there had no idea that Peacock has the entire SmackDown library. I was shocked based on Wednesday's show. But yeah, the entire SmackDown library is on Peacock. But check this out. If you want to sign up for Peacock to get what I just said, costs you $12.99 a month. I've been telling you guys for over a year, if you're an Instacart member, if you're a member of Instacart Plus, you get Peacock for free. Now, think about it. If you sign up on Peacock, it costs you $12.99. Instacart Plus costs you $10.99. So even if you've never used Instacart before and don't plan on using Instacart in the future, you sign up on Instacart Plus for $10.99, now you got Peacock. And if you ever decide to use Instacart, you already have that membership. So why would you not sign up for Instacart Plus? So yeah, you actually are ahead of the game and you get two things instead of one. Yeah, I use a VPN. I definitely use a VPN for WWE Premium Live events. I watch WWE Premium Live events through Netflix. I'm not paying ESPN. I signed up for 1 month and I'm like, I'm not paying $30 a month for WWE Premium Live event. It's not a matter of affording it or not affording it. I'm like, no, I'm not. So I just use a VPN and I use my Netflix subscription. So when they do the next Premium Live event, Money in the Bank, I think it is, I will be watching. I'll maybe you guys could pick the country. Like, what country do I watch it from this time around? I've been watching it from the United Kingdom. I think we watched it from Australia one time too. So it is kind of funny to watch a WWE Premium Live event in certain countries because certain countries no commercials. And, you know, you used to get those talking segments, you know, like in the arena, like Vic Joseph will be interviewing someone, or Kathy Kelly or whatever. Now, many times they just show you like a bunch of profiles, videos of wrestlers. You don't even get the in-arena talking segments like you used to. And remember what I said last week or the week before when WWE, you know, cut 5 segments from SmackDown? Why didn't they air those during commercial breaks internationally? They didn't air it to anybody. That was going to be a social media exclusive and get ad revenue over that. So, all right. Let's get into some more questions. We're at 85 minutes. I think we'll go another half hour and then we'll call it. So don't forget tomorrow, Raw, 6 p.m. Eastern. Immediately after Raw, those live fans in attendance in Canada will get the taping of Friday SmackDown. So by Monday night late, we will know what to expect on Friday SmackDown. And then the following week, obviously, we know what's coming. So, Roderick has a comment. He says he thinks my wife might be onto something about Seth Rollins. Not necessarily outright retirement, but more of a part-timer going forward. He's already on NFL's network and ESPN pretty often. Yeah, I could see Seth Rollins being a sports analyst in the future. There is legit money involved. I'm not saying that he would be like the next Pat McAfee or anything like that, but Seth Rollins does a pretty good job. I watched that appearance he did initially on NFL football, and I thought he did a good job. Seth Rollins knows his shit about sports. I kind of like Big E, what Big E does too. And he brought up my wife because my wife thinks Seth Rollins is retiring. Not full-blown retirement, but Seth Rollins could be on his way to retiring because there's not much left for him to do. And maybe he does focus a little bit more on the sports aspect of it. I don't think so, because I personally think Seth still wants to help the stars of tomorrow. I know WWE kind of, it's funny when I use this phrase because some people have brought to my attention how some podcasters now all of a sudden, they've been doing the shows for years. And now, like some people, it sounds like they bite off my shows when I say WWE already blew their load with Seth Rollins. There's a few people out there that now suddenly using that phrase. They never used it before, but I've been using that phrase for 20 years. I think WWE blew their load a little bit too much with Seth Rollins and the Vision. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, obviously. Seth Rollins and a bunch of others. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Like, it's going to be a hard sell to revisit any of that. So what do you do instead? What do you do instead? It's not as easy as it sounds. That's why, when we did this, WWE has a Seth Rollins problem. I promise you guys, and I'm not just saying it to be conceited or cocky. I promise you guys, in a very short order, you're going to have a bunch of other shows that are going to throw that viewpoint out there, and it's going to get everybody's attention. I just see it. Plus remember, Seth Rollins has the most number of matches he's had in any year for the last 3 years since TKO bought the company has been 24 or 23. Imagine that. Not last year only, but the last 3 years Seth Rollins has wrestled, it's been less than 24 matches a year. You're going to pay that guy that kind of money for 24 matches? Who does he wrestle the next 24 matches? They've already gone overboard with Braun Breaker. Like, you think about it. They've already gone overboard with CM Punk. They've already gone overboard with Cody Rhodes. Where do you get your money's worth for the next 24 matches? It is not easy. It is not easy. So, and listen, they got a kid now too. So obviously parenthood comes into play also. Seth Rollins is a Hall of Famer. Seth Rollins has been one of the MVPs of that company, no doubt. Some years he was the MVP of that company, and he's done a tremendous job. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are points in Seth Rollins' career that I hated with a passion. The feud with John Cena was just, oh my God, it's kind of like, it's like the summertime and you get mosquito bites, especially you get mosquito bites in the middle of the night and you're half asleep and somehow you're just like this all over the place. Like, what the fuck is going on? And you wake up and you're dreaming about mosquito bites and you wake up and you got that's what it kind of felt like every week. Every week I was getting mosquito bites. It was the J&J security, the authority, Seth Rollins, John. It's like a whole bunch of mosquito bites. Ugh. But I like Seth Rollins now. I think he's a Hall of Famer. And listen, if he ever left, I don't think he would leave to go to AEW, but if he ever left to go to AEW, that's a guy that I can honestly say there are a shitload of matches that he could do there. And listen, I'm not one of those that thinks that anybody who signed should go to AEW. I don't say that automatically. Although I wish AEW would reconsider fucking Brodito. Aleister Black, Buddy Matthews, Brody King, reformed the House of Black. That's an AEW original. Everybody loved it. Should have gone so much further. Reform the House of Black. That's what I would do. Put Zelina Vega in there. Let Julie Hart do something else. Put Zelina Vega in there. Bring the House of Black back to AEW. I think people would really pop for that. I would love to see it, to be honest with you. Especially Buddy Matthews making a return. He's cleared, but you don't know how long he can go. You know, he's got to probably change his in-ring style a little bit because of that injury. My God, if that gets injured again, he's done. He is absolutely done. I kind of hope they do that, so... Braun Breaker's about to get jobbed out by Oba. Believe it or not, tomorrow we're going to cover the betting odds. I don't know if we're going to cover the betting odds, but I think we are going to do predictions. You know what? No. I take that back. I think we're going to do predictions for Sunday night's main event. It has to be next Wednesday, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, next week is the go-home week for Sunday night's main event, but because of the taping schedule, we will know next week already what is taped for next week's SmackDown. Because remember, this Friday, the 28th, people are going to be live at SmackDown, but that SmackDown on the 28th is being taped for the following week. So by this Friday, we'll already know what other match, if any, was added to Sunday night's main event. So next week, I think next Monday, we will do predictions for Sunday night's main event. And we'll do betting odds. I will tell you right now, Obafemi is a slight favorite over Braun Breaker. Cody Rhodes, I believe, is a slight favorite over Randy Orton. And there's no betting odds yet as far as Baron Corbin and Lil Yachty, or even Corbin and Trick Williams. Those odds will change, but I still believe Obafemi and Braun Breaker will end in a disqualification. Shouldn't even be a no contest. The stuff that they did with Zilla Fatu and NXT was a joke. It was a joke. That should have been it should have been a disqualification, excuse me. And it should have been, obviously, Cruz Montana getting the title shot at Heatwave, but I did want the four-way. We talked about that last week. But I see Austin Theory getting involved. At minimum, Austin Theory. But I also hope Bronson Reed makes his return. But that match is going to end in a disqualification. I think Austin Theory will interfere just when Braun may be about to lose. And then when Oba goes after Austin Theory, if Bronson Reed's ready to return, Bronson Reed shows up, leaves Obafemi laying. And there's your next feud, Obafemi and Bronson Reed. I think that would be fucking spectacular. That's kind of my prediction, and I don't think it's changing by next week. That is kind of my prediction of where that match is going to go. So, oh, sure, Oba could lose. There's no need to. When Austin Theory on last week's Raw said that Obafemi is owed a receipt, to me, that was the seed planted that Austin Theory is going to do something at Sunday night's main event. Absolutely. It has to happen. Austin Theory getting punked out. And let me tell you something, too. They just had Obafemi and Tozawa taking on the Vision at last Friday's SmackDown. Dark match. Doesn't mean anything, but they are doing interaction with Oba and Austin Theory. So they could be preparing for something. But I think it's absolutely Austin Theory interference. Absolutely. This will not be a clean finish. And it shouldn't be a clean finish. Dave wants to know, do I think Sunday night's main event becomes a Sunday show? I don't think it should be. I really don't. You got football season on the horizon. I always felt Saturday night was a fun night to do it. Especially, let me put it this way. Sunday night's main event, Saturday night's main event, whatever night main event. That's not a show that runs late. So it's a show where you could do it on a Saturday, be done by 10:30 at night, and people get home at a reasonable time. They don't have school the next day. They don't have work the next day for a lot of people. I kind of think Saturday is the norm. I don't think that'll change. It doesn't mean that they won't do another Sunday night's main event, but I think you keep it Saturday. Especially if WWE does a lot of house shows. See, what WWE does with house shows is a lot of times on a Sunday, they do it in the afternoon. If you watch a lot of schedules for WWE, when they do house shows on a Sunday, it's usually in the afternoon. So to do a Sunday night's main event, it's kind of, I don't think that's the wise way to go, in my honest opinion. Bobby Means thinks there's a real possibility that Cruz Santana wins the NXT title at Heatwave. Well, we will be doing predictions Wednesday for Heatwave. Right now, I think Tony D'Angelo is losing it. I think, my original thought was Grayson Waller. WWE loves when they have 3-ways and 4-ways. They love doing where a babyface is about to get a victory and a heel throws the wrestler out of the ring and then rolls up and steals the victory. Whether the heel is already a champion or a challenger for a title, I could picture Grayson Waller. I mean, that's not my official prediction. I'll give it Wednesday. But I could picture a scenario where somebody hits a finisher and is about to win and fucking Grayson Waller throws them out of the ring, rolls up and steals the victory. I kind of think it's time for Tony D to lose that championship. Even if he retains, this is not like, what a high-profile win for Tony D'Angelo. He ups his stock for the main roster. No. Tony D, no matter what the outcome is in this match, I don't think it hurts him, but I don't think it helps him either. He has done a good job with the championship, but he will be one of those champions people will look back on and be like, oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not souring on him. I just feel that character is not for the main roster. What is it? What's the catchphrase? What's the character? What's his connection with the fans? There isn't anything. And the Italian thing was awful. Even I said that. The Italian thing is very, very niche. That wasn't going to work on the main roster. Unless there was a reprieve, a new Soprano series, or Jersey Shore became a popular thing again, and they decided to go the Italian route and, piggybacking off of Sopranos. It's kind of like when you think of when TNA did Aces and Eights. Remember that god-awful shit? Aces and 0.8s? Why did they do that? You saw the TV shows at the time, and they were playing off of fucking TV shows. What was the TV show that they were doing? Sons of Anarchy, I think it was. If Sons of Anarchy wasn't on TV at that time, Aces and 0.8s probably wouldn't have been a thing. There wouldn't have been a thing. So you kind of reflect off of TV. So you do the Italian thing, it's very, very niche. And I just don't see it happening. And they took that away from Tony D. Now he's a hairy man that can work, that's intense. Is that a recipe for the main roster? Really? I mean, name me 5 other people who didn't have a catchphrase, didn't really have a character. I mean, they were good at what they did. They talked well, but they really didn't have any type of specific character or connection with the fans. Name me 5 people that actually got over pretty well on the main roster. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I personally don't see Tony D'Angelo, in the big picture. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. So, the Dream 1015. Thank you very much, my friend. Dream 1015 says, I don't mind. Wait a minute. Oh, this is Therese Valeriano. I don't know why it says Dream on the screen. I just rhymed. Therese Valeriano. Valeriano. Gifa. I don't mind the WWE releases. If people's favorites is being used like crap, I complain online if they're gone. I'll tell you why people complain. And I think it makes the world of sense. We're frustrated. We're frustrated that WWE has a good arm, a good leg, a good person that can work, that could deliver, that could actually produce and they do nothing with it. It's frustration more than anything else. I mean, I've said this for years. I don't have a vendetta against Dana Brooke anymore, but I said it. Even Dana Brooke had a huge fan base. Dana Brooke, unfortunately, and listen, she turned it around in TNA. I'll always give her that. But even when they brought her back to NXT, her timing was always off, and they couldn't teach it. I don't know what they did different in TNA where she found that timing, because she didn't have it for almost a decade. But she just had horrible timing. And even 1.5 seconds could be the difference of somebody executing a move sloppy, taking a move sloppy, maybe even risking injury. But the point is, there was even an audience that was frustrated about Dana Brooke being released. There'll always be an audience for any person in wrestling. But the thing is that there are others that we are legitimately frustrated because the person can work, and yet they just aren't a good fit, or creative doesn't know what to do with them. Back in the day, we would say that about Japanese talent. Back in the day, we would say it about, wrestlers that came from the indie circuit. We would say that about TNA guys. I always felt the Motor City Machine Guns, their shelf life in the WWE is going to be super, super short, because in this day and age, so many people could work. Their skills do not stand out as much as it did 10 years ago. Just like the women's wrestling. You go back 10 years with Charlotte Flair and Bayley being called up and Sasha Banks, and you look at the Knockouts division, and you look at, you can really separate, the women that really could turn this shit up. And there would be a lot of other women that would be like, kind of like, we're learning, we're trying, But now women's wrestling is insane. AEW has a tremendous women's roster. WWE has a tremendous women's roster. NXT, other promotions. But the thing is, there are so many talented women out there now that someone who has a good skill set may not stand out compared to 10 years ago, because there's so many other people doing it. So when the Motor City Machine Guns came in, why did they stand out? They can work great, but so can a whole shitload of other teams out there. And you realize that unless you have something really, really different or special or something unique or something that stands out, your shelf life is very, very limited. So when you see people complaining online, it's because they know that the person they're supporting can work, but they're just frustrated that WWE refuses. I say this about Julia. A lot of people feel that WWE's done a terrible job with Julia. That's how quick it could be for somebody in creative to say, you know what? Let's give Julia a high-profile win next week on SmackDown. Let's have an interaction with Jade Cargill or someone else. At any time, they can snap the finger, push the button, and push anybody they want. There is nothing stopping them. When you see someone else being used horrendously, and you say to yourself, why are they wasting this person? There's nothing, no one has a pistola to their head. There's no blackmail. There's nobody saw anything in the back that's stopping them. It's not against their religion. It's not against their DNA. They can push anybody they want at any time. That's why they get paid. That's why they get paid the money that they do. A lot of times they choose not to. And that's why people complain. They're frustrated. They're frustrated. Shout out to Jake the OTC. It kind of gave me Bugs Bunny vibes just now. He said, "What's up, Don?" "What's up, Don?" "What's up, man? What's up?" Big G says AEW seems to be booking Motor City Machine Guns the same way WWE did. Yes, I agree. They will be Ring of Honor more than anything else. But at least with AEW, and I think we all agree on this, look at the tag team division in the WWE. No disrespect intended towards the wrestlers that are there in tag teams. But when you really look at it, you got Nakamura and Takahashi. You got the Creed brothers. You got Alpha Academy. The Usos, I don't even know what the fuck they're doing right now. You have Tala Tonga and Tama Tonga, the MFTs. You got Damian Priest, who I think is turning on R-Truth in the very near future. He is going to pick up R-Truth one too many times after a loss and fucking chokeslam that bitch. And he's just going to be frustrated and walk out. It is happening. It's true. It is damn true. You look at that tag team division and you say to yourself, how the fuck did it get to this bad? You had Gargano and Ciampa. Even the Wyatt Six, Loomis and Gacy were pretty fucking good. You had the Motor City Machine Guns. You had others. And it felt like, okay, there's enough people to play. The Street Profits. You could even bring up fucking the Vision. You know, you had a nice plethora of teams. Not too long ago, you had fucking Hurt Syndicate. You had Judgment Day. You know, there was enough tag teams that if you really wanted to give some attention, you can. But obviously, they don't want to go that direction. At least in AEW, I think we all agree, tag team division is quite even. I mean, even the Young Bucks, I'm not criticizing the Young Bucks, but even the Young Bucks, I'm sure there's at least half a dozen tag teams. If they defeated the Young Bucks on a Dynamite next week, I don't think people would be shocked. I don't think you would have people in the crowd go, you know what I'm saying? So you look at the tag team division in AEW, the tag teams seem to be pretty damn even across the board. Even if the New Day come in, even if another team comes in, they have done a good job having enough tag teams that at any point, maybe someone could break through. You know, so the Motor City Machine Guns have many, many people to play with, and it's very even. I don't think they'll be the center point of the tag team division. I don't think they want to, and I don't think they should be. So I think they would have an easier time in AEW than WWE. So, oh, yes. Oh, a lot of people disagree with me about Damian Priest. Oh, yes, I believe he has turned. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. 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 Absolutely. Oh, man. Friday SmackDown? I didn't think it was going to happen, but, you know, it's the telltale sign. When the camera stays on the losers too long, like, it's not like somebody in the back's like, go to commercial. Hey, stupid, go to commercial. What are you, sleeping? Go to commercial. Take the camera on. No. When you saw R-Truth, like, struggling to get up, Damian Priest walks over to him. He's a little frustrated, picks up R-Truth. He's like, come on, we got another day. We'll get better. And like, kind of consoles him. And then, like, slowly, like, walks out. And the camera's on this whole time. Whenever the camera's on there too long, and you kind of think it's on there too long, that's telltale sign shit's coming. Damian Priest, absolutely. Unless R-Truth gets released first. Unless R-Truth gets released first. And listen, I'm not wishing an R-Truth release. I like him in WWE for more than one reason. But I truthfully believe he came back a year ago, and it is borrowed time. It is borrowed time. But I personally think that team is almost done. That team is this close to being done. Could happen in 2 weeks. I mean, we've been pretty spot on with our timing. I mean, we predicted Blake Monroe having her match, even though, you know, we know what they did on Friday, which is okay. But, you know, even Tiffany Stratton, last week we said they might need to tweak Tiffany's character a little bit because of Blake Monroe. Now you're going full-blown Blake Monroe in the main roster. They're not going to just have two pretty blondes that have a little bit extra, you know, dress. You know, they're not similar, but they are. And there was just a conversation last week saying, hey, you know, I realize when I'm going like this, it's fucking this that does it. because I prepared for the show and I didn't have any itchiness on my face at all. I think it's this that makes me a little itchy. Itchy. Ghost says, who in their right mind is disagreeing with Damian turning? They planted the seed already. It's confirmed. Well, it's not confirmed until it's confirmed. But let's also remember, we thought Grayson Waller was going to turn on Austin Theory. And that never happened. They just suddenly just stopped as a tag team, and all of a sudden Grayson Waller's with the fucking New Day. And Austin Theory, yes, he had a little bit of an injury too, but it's not always played out the way that we see it. But one thing I think we all agree on is that R-Truth and Damian Priest as a tag team is pretty close to being over. It is pretty close to being over. The show's almost over too. Dream says I'm drinking so much alcohol. Dude, I'm not kidding when I say this. I have one of these when I do a show 2 times a week. Maybe Patreon, I'll have a third. That's it. I don't have a drink outside of this. I have it here to relax a little, unwind, just kind of go with the show, So yeah, I don't drink outside of this. And honestly, this was a new thing of a couple of weeks ago. It was just that I picked up a bottle of Black Sambuca. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a shot during the show. One thing you won't see me doing is eating edibles and vaping on shows. I don't vape, first of all. And even the edibles, that hasn't really worked out the last week and a half. I've tried it. It's helped a little bit with pain and sleep, but nowhere near I thought it would be. I had a headache the other day, and then another day I found myself eating a pint of fucking Halo Top ice cream at 3:30 in the morning. I got the munchies, and I'm like, oh no. Me with weed and the munchies is definitely not a good combination. A lot of you know that story from back in the day. Somebody gave me chocolate. Here's a quick story. I don't want to name any wrestlers, but somebody in XPW back in 2002 brought chocolate Thai weed to XPW, and I happened to have a little pipe at the time. So everybody was smoking in my room. So there is one particular wrestler who works behind the scenes at AEW. We won't mention his name, but he did have a good match in XPW back in 2002. He knocks on my door at 4:30 in the morning. I open the door. He's like, hey, here's your pipe. I was like, oh, shit, thank you. And had a little bag of weed with it also. And it was chocolate Thai. It wasn't mine. But I took it home. And I did the Minority Report at the time with the podcasting. So long story short, I come home and I got this chocolate Thai and I have weed. So I fucking lit up, just try to ease the pain a little bit. Did my hotline report or show, whoever I did it with at the time. And then at 3:30 in the morning, I got the munchies. At 3:30 in the morning, I woke up from a deep sleep, went on my kitchen and started making spaghetti with garlic and oil. I started fiending pasta with garlic and oil. I literally, like Goodfellas, cut the garlic up, fried it in a pan with olive oil, boiled pasta, fucking ate it with grated cheese at 4:30 in the morning. And when that happened, I was like, no more weed for me. And honestly, I haven't smoked weed since then. I don't smoke weed now. I don't like smoking weed. It gives me a headache. So, do we all agree that Tony Storm is going to return at All In? Do we kind of feel like Tony Storm has to appear at All In? Do you all feel that way? I kind of think so. I wonder, does she get involved in a Willow Nightingale Mercedes Moné match? Because we are doing predictions for that. That's coming up this week also. I kind of think Tony Storm is returning. I wish the betting sites would cover betting odds of Tony Storm's return. So, all right. We are almost done. So before we start bringing this home, I want to quickly get into my Mount Rushmore of those not in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, my criteria is simple. We want to focus on individuals who had a very prominent role in the WWE. Doesn't mean that somebody didn't work elsewhere, because people have said like Cornette and others, which are great choices, but I want to focus on those who made their place in the WWE or had their biggest impact in the WWE. And, you know, the first three choices I made, I thought were fairly easy to come up with. Now, remember, this is the list of people who are not in the WWE Hall of Fame. So I'm going to give you my Mount Rushmore. And I guarantee you the fourth choice is going to surprise a lot of you. And if anybody's tuning in right now in the chat that we're on Patreon, don't give it away. Because I think people would be pleasantly surprised at my choice for number 4. So, without further ado, that is my Mount Rushmore. And my first entry, and I think many of you will agree, should be The Rock. I think we all agree that The Rock should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't know if he would go in Saudi Arabia, but I think it's time to put The Rock into the WWE Hall of Fame. Well overdue, especially with his Hollywood career not panning out as good as it used to be. I think putting The Rock in the WWE Hall of Fame is absolutely necessary. What do you guys think? I mean, we just had, like, didn't they just put his mother in the Hall of Fame? Like, do we all agree? Like, The Rock should be in the Hall of Fame. What do you guys think in the chat? I mean, what are some of your, actually, before I get into more of my list, like, what are some of your picks? Who's your 4 that you would put in your Mount Rushmore? So, Chris thinks it's a good idea, but do we agree? I mean, if you think my choice sucks, absolutely say it. But I think Rock is a given. In fact, like I said, my first 3 picks, I think, are logical. Now, there's 100 choices we can make. But I think the list that I come up with is a list that should be now. I thought about Jericho, but that's impossible because he's in AEW. So Jericho is not on my list, okay? So I put The Rock as my first choice as far as going into the WWE Hall of Fame. So my second choice, and I think most of you will agree beyond a shadow of a doubt, should be John Cena also. John Cena, no question, absolutely should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. If anybody is going to go in Saudi Arabia outside of Brock Lesnar, it's John Cena. And I want to make this clear too. Brock Lesnar is not on my list. And I'll tell you why he's not on my list. Because he just retired. When we think of people not in the WWE Hall of Fame, we think of people that should have been put in a while ago. And yes, John Cena just retired last year, but I think a lot of people felt that John Cena should have been in the WWE Hall of Fame. Even this year, it should have happened. So I think John Cena absolutely should be put into the WWE Hall of Fame. I see some choices on there. All right, let me share some choices from some people out there. We have some choices for Lex Luger, The Rock, Owen Hart, Jeff Jarrett, Jim Johnston, Owen Hart, John Cena, Brian Pillman. Too Cold Scorpio, I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. Raven, Miss Elizabeth, Bam Bam, Jazz, Cyndi Lauper. Roderick says a Double J went in already. That does sound correct. I mean, Jeff Jarrett wouldn't have been on my list anyway, because I'm talking about names that should go in now. And don't get me wrong, there's some names there that absolutely should have been in already. No question about it. But I now will give you my third choice. And this is going to be an unpopular one. There's no doubt in my mind this is going to be an unpopular pick. But my third choice to go into the WWE Hall of Fame? Okay, hold on. My third choice would be Vince McMahon. I know, guys. Vince McMahon probably would refuse to go into the WWE Hall of Fame, and they're probably going to put him in after he is deceased. But I personally think he should go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Without Vince McMahon, we don't have what we have now. I get it. some people who are hardcore anti-Vince will say, well, Vince borrowed money from his father, or Vince did Black Saturday and, he couldn't fund it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Vince McMahon had the biggest platform and was responsible for Hulkamania and everything else that led to it. Yes, there was a lot of protest against Vince. There was a lot of protest against the cartoon wrestling. That's why NWA was a great alternative. Other promotions were a great alternative, but they never had the pockets deep enough to really challenge up until the early 90s when you had the steroid trial and Hulk Hogan left WWF and WCW signed him. Ted Turner believed in signing Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff obviously as well. And once Hogan went to WCW, suddenly it was a whole new game. WCW was the greatest threat to WWE. But we know what happened in the annals of history, but there's no question about it. Regardless of how you feel about Vince, I believe Vince McMahon is a pig. I would not want Vince McMahon as my father. I don't know the extent of the crimes that people says he committed. I do believe he absolutely put people in bad situations because he had money and power. I think he used people. I think he abused people. I think he put people in situations where they kind of felt that they had to do something or else, and it's fucked up. I am so glad that I'm not in that situation and none of you are out there as well. But fact of the matter is, as far as wrestling goes, Vince McMahon deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, I will say this, mid-range and everyone else, my fourth pick is not a woman. I thought about some women. I thought about some of the biggest names in women's wrestling in the WWF back even in the 90s, 2000s. There's many names you could come up with. Miss Elizabeth is a name that everybody brings up too. But I honestly think my pick is a name that I don't think anybody out there ever would think would be my fourth choice. And I even said this on Patreon Thursday. If anyone out there happens to see this individual and says to him, hey, I was just checking out a podcast and this person brought up their Mount Rushmore of who's not in the WWE Hall of Fame and he chose you, I think this person would actually smile from ear to ear, because this person that I choose is someone who is very, very friendly online, someone who loves to socialize with other wrestling fans out there, who absolutely still loves wrestling and is kind of, I think, brokenhearted on how wrestling has forgot about him. And my fourth pick that I truthfully believe should be in the WWE Hall of Fame right now, drum roll please, Jim Johnston, the WWE composer. I truthfully believe that Jim Johnston deserves to be in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. The man created some of the most iconic music wrestling has ever had. The music fit the wrestlers. The guy was so goddamn talented and just knew, what should be for certain wrestlers. When you think of music that Jim Johnston has composed, there are not many bad ones. Even the bad ones, still, I compare Jim Johnston's bad music to White Castle. Eat 10 White Castles and tell me what happens. Most of you out there will tell me you had a stomach ache all night long, shit your brains out, have like cramps. And you want to know something? I guarantee you, if I gave you a coupon a week later to get 10 more free White Castles, you'd run to the store and eat it. White Castles are a guilty pleasure that even though it may not be good for you, even though it might be kind of shangada, there's just something about it that you'll keep going back for more. That's how some of Jim Johnston's bad music was. Just imagine how good the good music was. I grew up on Jim Johnston music. And I'm not saying, that his music was the be-all, end-all. It's not. Some of my favorite entrance themes of all time are not even wrestling music. There's still a couple of themes in ECW. When I hear it played on a radio, I think of the ECW wrestler that came out to it. I still think of the Road Warriors. I still think of the Freebirds with Freebird. I still think of even the Steiners with Welcome to the Jungle. You know, I think of even Sade with Ravishing Rick Rude. Sade. Just imagine Rick Rude coming out to fucking Sade, Smooth Operator. I mean, there's some songs, Eddie Gilbert, Hot Stuff. There are some songs that I still hear today that I still think of the wrestlers. But in my opinion, if anybody deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame right now, alongside those guys, to me, it's Jim Johnston. And trust me, this was not easy as a pick. I had women on that list. I had Batista on that list. I had others as my number 4. And after thinking about it, I said, nah, you know what? Fucking Jim Johnston deserves to be in there. And that guy wants to be in there. He wants to be in there. And, you know, I'm really disappointed that WWE has not put him in. I think if he has any chance of going in the next 3 years, I think it's under the current regime. So that is my 4. I don't know if you guys agree. I mean, obviously, if you're younger, your picks will be different than mine. You know, I go back, I started watching wrestling in 1979 as a preteen. And, you know, I grew up even before where wrestling music was a thing. But in hindsight, as far as who's not in the WWE Hall of Fame right now that made their biggest stance in the WWE, their biggest presence, I think Jim Johnston deserves it. So, yeah, Bray Wyatt 3 anniversary, man. Today was Terry Funk. Monday, it's Bray Wyatt. Rough. That was just so horrible. And we remember the Moth. To this day, there's people that think that I somehow staged that. I don't know how you could possibly stage that, but that is still one of the weirdest things. You know, let me tell you something. The shit with Daphne and the shit with Bray Wyatt really made me think that there's something about afterlife and something like that. It's just too weird to have those things happen. And it happened on video. That's the most mind-blowing about it. It happened on video. You always hear weird stories about something moving, something falling, something appearing, and it's never caught on video. Here we are on fucking video, and something happened. And it's just, when you go back and you watch it, it's crazy, man. I miss Daphne dearly. She's such a good woman, man. Such a kind, good woman. Bray Wyatt, too. You know, I truthfully believe he'd still be alive if he was wearing that vest. I don't know if he would have wrestled again. I mean, quite honestly, I don't think he would have wrestled again. I think his wrestling career would have been over. I think it would have been way too risky, and I don't think WWE would have even risked him back in the ring because of his heart condition. But that was something that wasn't going to get better. Him wearing that wet vest was a temporary fix for a serious condition, and I just always envisioned him just leaving it in the car. It's just, that's the craziest thing about it. He left it in the car. He just wanted to be more comfortable. It's not a comfortable thing to wear. And to think it's already been 3 years, man. Fucking 3 years. Rough, man. Very rough. So, all right, let's wrap this up in about 5 minutes or so. Tristan, my thoughts on Mankind, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. We just celebrated the anniversary of it. One of the craziest matches I've ever seen. Mick Foley, I think, having some permanent injuries because of that night. What he did to entertain fans is unbelievable. Just watching him go not only through the table, but climbing back up the fucking cage and then falling through it, seeing a tooth hanging out of his nose. I don't think people understand. I mean, anybody remember when Cesaro impaled his teeth? Remember when Cesaro had that match and you looked at his teeth like, where did the other half go? And then you realize he didn't break his teeth in half. They just went up. They went up. I mean, talk about forcible entry. You know, WWE used to have that CD, forcible entry. Talk about forcible entry. Mick Foley is like, oh yeah, you didn't see nothing. Mick Foley, I don't know how it got all the way up there. Crazy match. It's a match that, you know, I hope we never see anything that physical ever again. Rocky read about Trevor, aka SODU TW, SODUTW. By the way, SODUTW is Trevor spelled backwards. No, wait. Isn't it SODU? Whoa. Oh, no. Rovert. That's what it was. I was just like, wait a minute. How can it be Trevor spelled backwards if it begins with a letter W? It's Rovert. Rovert. Rovert spelled backwards is Trevor. For those that don't know, Rovert was a guy on social media. Very, very, I wouldn't say controversial, but very, very outspoken. And, you know, can be out there at times. He passed away suddenly a couple of days ago. And there's enough people in wrestling media, podcasts that knew who he was. I will be totally honest with you. He never really crossed hairs with Kev and I over the years. Like, there would once in a while be a comment about something that we said, but he never went vicious on us, and nor did he ever like really come to support us. You know, that was someone that was very, very outspoken in wrestling. Sometimes would get into these huge wars with people. Some people have accused him of bullying. Some people have accused him of being very, very nasty and vile. You know, the only thing I could say about it is when it comes to social media, you'd be surprised how many people out there are dealing with mental health issues. And I'm not saying this was the case with Trevor, but this is just my opinion. There are people out there who do have some bouts with depression or some mental health issues, or maybe just life is not cutting out the way that they had hoped it to be. And wrestling is an escape. Going on social media is an escape. Interacting with people is an escape. It can be very, very addicting at times as well. And I think this was the case where somebody hiding, if you want to call it that, hiding under, you know, an account name and being able to feel that they could say whatever they want and not have to worry about somebody showing up at their house and punching them in the mouth. And, you know, I think at his core, hardcore wrestling fan, at his core, didn't have this deep hatred in his body for anybody, but also someone who I believe that there might have been a little bit of jealousy, because you would see, you know, times where he would bring somebody down simply because something positive was happening with them. I'm not crapping on the guy. All I know is that I think, you know, it's tragic that the man died out of nowhere. I don't know his age. If anyone in the chat room knows his age, I've heard somewhere around 38. I don't know if that's true or not, but all I know is that he was very, very outspoken. There were not too many people like him, and there were enough people that did like him. I think sometimes, especially when you're under a profile where people can't find out or have a hard time finding your name, your address, where you are, you kind of, your balls kind of grow a little bit too big of a set, and you kind of think that you could get away with saying anything. And I think sometimes you abuse that. And we're all guilty of that. Back in the day, I was an absolute asshole to people online. There are people who are successful in media today in wrestling that I'll compliment once in a while, and then that person will turn around to me and say, "Oh, now you're being nice to me." And I'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And then the person would tell me about shit that I said 10 years ago, and I was like, holy shit, I don't even remember. And I, you know, definitely had my share of saying stupid shit, man. And you learn from it. You grow up from it. I mean, I think we're all guilty of it. But Jim Kahn says Graham Platter syndrome. I don't even know what that is. Graham Platter syndrome. I'll look that up tonight. Nobody has to give me an explanation now, but again, not someone that I mingled with. If I did, I would have probably wrote something online. But since I really never interacted with him much at all, I thought this is something that, and listen, when Kev passed away, he definitely was not one of those that reached out. I know everybody who reached out in, high profile social media, wrestlers, media, others. He was not one of them. And it's not like, well, you didn't reach out for Kev, so I'm not reaching out for you. That's not the case. What I'm saying is that was someone that never really crossed our radar much ever. But still, the way he died, man, sucks. Douche says Graham Plattner is a guy who ran for Senate in May this year that dropped out due to scandals. 316 MMA says Kevin with the death this week. Do I think there should be an age restriction to begin TV or movie actors? Oh, I know what they were talking about others. Some really fucked up deaths recently. We talked about a few last week as well. But Roderick says we talked about him earlier, but one of my thoughts on Sammy Guevara. He was set to be a main event player, an AEW pillar. Now he's barely relevant. Well, I just finished talking quite a bit about him earlier. I'll say this. I said earlier that we don't know in Sammy Guevara's heart how far he wanted to go. We don't know if he's just frustrated with his current position and maybe everything leading up to it or leading up to last year is exactly the way he wanted, or maybe he thought he got more. But as far as me, as a wrestling fan, I'll say this. Going back to 2019, I thought Sammy Guevara would have gone a lot further. A lot further. The Spanish God thing got under my skin, but he was talented. And I always thought that guy, I could see him going to WWE, them kind of like, tweaking his arsenal a little bit, but I could see him, being a cocky heel. I thought Sammy Guevara would have gone further. Funny thing is, if he left AEW right now, you know where I would put him in? I'd put him in AAA. I'd fucking have him as one of the main eventers in AAA. That's what I would do. I think that's where he would probably have his best fit. I think he could get so freaking over in AAA. And I get it, he could do CMLL, and stuff like with the AEW, but no, I think if he were to leave AEW, I think that motherfucker would tear it up at AAA. That's where I would use him. And then if you want to put him on a match on NXT or WWE or something just to see how the crowd reacts to it, even if it's a dark match, I would do that. So, mid-range, as far as, and I have to answer this, Steve, thoughts on Meltzer not being in the last Dark Side of the Ring episode? I don't think anybody should be, by default, in a Dark Side of the Ring episode. I don't think anybody should be on it unless there's like a panel, and you expect that person to be on a panel. I don't have any issue with it. I don't think much of it. Not everybody's going to be on every episode. So no, that doesn't faze me at all. I don't think there's any falling out. I don't have any issue with that. Tristan wants to know, do I think our lifetime before we're really old men, do I think Owen Hart will ever be put in the WWE Hall of Fame? This is my take on Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. It's always been my take of Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. I'm married now. And let me explain. No, not about marriage. Let me explain. Something happens to me right now. My mom is still alive. My dad is still alive. My instant reaction is something happened to me and I'm in the hospital. and I can't communicate. I never wrote it in writing, but I'd have no problem if my mom and my dad made the decision for me. But I believe legally, my wife is probably the one that can make the decision. So my point is this. Bret Hart is still alive. Members of Owen Hart's family are still alive. Putting his wife aside for a minute. So because his wife is still alive, she, by default, is the person that basically handles his business, so to speak. My point is this. If I didn't give a shit, and if this was Vince McMahon's Hall of Fame still, Vince McMahon's WWE, if Bret Hart got along with me still, because Bret hates Vince now, but if Bret still got along with me and his immediate family was all for it, I'd put Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what his wife thinks. It was a tragic accident. It's fucked up. It shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have been in that position. I agree. But if Owen's own brother is saying he should be in, and other immediate family members saying he should be in, I would put him in the Hall of Fame. If his wife doesn't want to acknowledge it, fine. I said this years ago. If I'm WWE, I don't wait for a wrestler to be willingly put in the Hall of Fame. I would turn around and put him in the Hall of Fame anyway. And before they amended fences with Bruno, I would have put him in the Hall of Fame. And if Bruno don't want to show up and accept it, you have fucking Triple H or somebody else go on the fucking stage and say, Bruno Sammartino could not appear tonight to accept this award, so we accept the award on his behalf. And then you ship it to him. And if he wants thrown in the garbage, fine. You put people in the Hall of Fame because they deserve it, not because they're going to accept it. All right, so I would have put him in the Hall of Fame anyway. And if his wife didn't like it, oh well. If this was Vince McMahon's company. But since it is now TKO, I think you have to respect his wife's wishes, regardless if you agree with them or not. So I truthfully believe with Vince McMahon no longer being in power, I think at some point his wife may be willing to put him in. His wife may be willing to allow WWE to put him in. Because this is the thing his wife needs to understand. Wrestling fans want to celebrate Owen Hart. And yes, they could celebrate Owen Hart in AEW, no question. But having him honored as a Hall of Famer because of him giving his life to entertain fans, I think fans want a moment to express that celebration. It's not, Vince gets one up on his wife because he gets to put him in the Hall of Fame and, everything is swept under the rug. Vince is not there anymore. I think, and I know this is going to sound morbid, I think once Vince McMahon passes away, I think that's when Owen Hart's wife may be a little bit more receptive in allowing WWE to put his Owen in the Hall of Fame. I think as long as Vince is alive, she would not give Vince the satisfaction that WWE is going to put Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. I think once Vince passes away and maybe Owen's wife is no longer close with AEW, I think that's when he goes in. Bobby, thank you very much for your generosity. Bobby says, in his opinion, the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania is still the greatest streak of all time in wrestling history. Who would I have had end the streak instead of Brock Lesnar? I've said this years ago. My mind hasn't changed. And I still would keep it the same. Believe it or not, if Brock still had that streak, I would consider Obafemi in a year or two. Not now, but I could see it in a year or two. Because I think Brock, at the very end of his career, if anybody he was going to pass the torch to, I feel whoever he lost to, he should have passed the torch to. When it comes to Undertaker, though, all right. Now, again, I know Brock has lost to me. I'm not saying that Brock had an undefeated streak. I'm explaining. This is my point. Brock Lesnar, if he was undefeated at Mania, Oba would have been the right person because Oba has the torch passed to him. I think whoever would have beaten Brock's streak, he's pass the torch to. But when it comes to The Undertaker, there's nobody that I feel Undertaker would have passed the torch to. Undertaker became such a part-time personality. I never felt that Undertaker was passing the torch to anybody. So because we're talking about Undertaker's undefeated streak, the only person that I would say that should have beaten Undertaker is probably Brock. It's probably Brock. I would not have had Sting come in, have the fantasy match with Taker and beat Taker. There's no one else in the history of WWE that I would have chose to have Undertaker's streak broken other than Brock. But I will say this also. I've said this for years. My mind will never change. Undertaker should have retired with an undefeated streak. I don't think there was any, listen, obviously that was a huge freaking notch under Brock Lesnar's belt. And Brock Lesnar has had an insane career. So why not him? That's why I think if you're forcing me to choose anybody, Brock was the right person. I can't think of anybody else. There's nobody else. I would have had Undertaker retire undefeated. Undefeated. Brock, I could see passing the torch. If he was undefeated, I could see Oba getting the torch past him. I never felt that somebody was having the torch passing him from Undertaker. If this would have been 10 years before Undertaker's career ended, I would have felt a little bit differently. But no, I think Undertaker, let me tell you something. If Sting, with that short career he had in the WWE, I think if Sting came in and fought Undertaker and beat him, I think there would be a lot of animosity towards WWE for doing that. I think a lot of people would feel like, wow, just for a couple of months or a year with Sting in the WWE, you ruin his streak for that. Because I think Sting, even think about when he left to go to AEW. He pretty much wrote off WWE's career. And even if he got to beat Undertaker, I don't think Sting would have a different mindset about his wrestling career. I think a lot of people would have felt like, wow, Sting never really wanted to be a WWE guy. Why did you have him end Undertaker? I think there'd be a lot of animosity towards Sting, even though it probably wasn't his decision. I think a lot of people would be annoyed if Sting would have broken Undertaker's streak, because he never came off as somebody who really wanted to be in the WWE. It felt like this was his only opportunity because TNA was all used up and there wasn't much left for him to do. And I just feel that even if he didn't get injured in that match with Seth, I think Undertaker, even if he lost the streak to Sting, I think Sting to this day would have still went to AEW, would have still had the career he had there, and I think he still would have the same mindset about WWE. It doesn't feel like Sting ever really cared about WWE. I'm not saying the fans. I'm not saying Sting didn't care about the fans. But I think Sting, it's a job. I don't think people would want that, so. All right. I am going to jet. So just once again as a reminder, I will be live tomorrow night immediately after Raw goes off the air. Raw starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. So my guess is right around 8:15 Eastern, that's when we will be going live. Because remember, WWE's taping SmackDown tomorrow. So WWE's going to want to finish a little bit earlier than usual because they got to fit SmackDown in there. Now, the thing with SmackDown is segments in the back, they don't have to worry about. They have to worry more about matches and in-ring segments than anything else. So, and they don't have to worry about commercial breaks. So they can get a lot in there in an hour, hour and a half. They can get a shitload done in an hour, hour and a half. So if they finish by 8:15 Eastern time, and then you change the apron and start SmackDown 15 minutes later, you could be done by 10 Eastern, and everybody goes home. So the fact that they are taping SmackDown immediately after tells me that, they're going to finish Raw a little bit earlier than usual. Now, Raw, they're going to have the contract signing, obviously, with Oba and Braun. We have Stephanie Vaquer and Roxanne Perez. We got a few other things going down. We have more in the tournament to determine Roman Reigns' opponent in Mexico City. So it looks like a good Raw on paper. And listen, say what you want about WWE. I think they had a pretty good last 2 weeks. I would say outside of the second Raw after SummerSlam, I think WWE's had a good, nice run after SummerSlam. Let's see if they could carry on. Now, you should also be reminded that Roman will not be on tomorrow. Roman's schedule is a little fucked up. And especially how they're going to have to drag this shit out to Money in the Bank with LA Knight. This shit's going to be dragged. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if we get a main event that's like the Usos versus Solo Sikoa and LA Knight. I would not be surprised if we get that as a main event tomorrow. But, you know, just understand that this road to the title match with LA Knight and Roman Reigns is kind of messy because you're going to have gaps where Roman is not there, and especially Money in the Bank. 2 of the last 3 weeks of TV leading to Money in the Bank, as of right now, Roman is not on. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, but we'll be live tomorrow, so we could pick up our conversation where we leave off now. But I want to thank you all again, and once again, Bobby, thank you very much for your generosity. I thank you all, as always, for your love and support. Just keep supporting the website, wrestling-news.com. Keep downloading all the shows that we do. Helps us pay the bills, helps us stay relevant in the stats, and we shall continue. So, much love, everybody. Have a good rest of your evening, and catch you all again on the next one. Ciao.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.